Hi everyone, welcome to this new video. So in the last video, we learned on the custom animation. Before that, we learned an hero animation. So in the last video, we learned a custom animation which, without using any libraries or any packages, we try to make our own animations, which gives us ability to control the animation, how we wanted, how duration, how long we wanted that animations to run. So these and all abilities has been given by using our own custom animations. So today, using the same knowledge, we are trying to build a Swiggy splash screen animations. So you might have seen this in the when you open the Swiggy app, you will see the splash screen where there's a little animation of this home logo where it goes to the next screen. If I quickly show you that, so this is the if I just play the video where you could see there's an animation coming, just a splash animation. It's for stays for just like a second, where it try to animate from one screen to another. So today we are trying to replicate the same animation that we just saw. Okay, so back in the code. So as I told, the custom animation has three major things or elements, I could say. So one is a animation controller, which basically controls the whole animation. It's like a timeline. It's like a manager who tells when and where to stop and how much duration it should run. And the ticker, which is nothing but a 60 minutes of ticker, which each tick will changes the like it will rebuild the UI. And the animation value, it is the reason where the animation get executed. Okay, so today what we'll do, as we observed in the video, to do this there's like a few steps you have to understand. These are not the animation that is like only single animation is there. These are the animations of chain. It's like a chain of animation. It has 2 to 3 animations together. It goes in the continuous manner. It's not a sticky manner, it's like continuous one. So how can we do that? So based on the video what we saw, I have divided this into the 3 major parts. If you could see, the logo will be there. It is like a static one and it will be there. And in the second screen, the from this opacity, which is in the circular shape, it will be converted into little rectangular which has a rounded corners. An icon of home will appear. Soon after this, the home with the text will appear from the vertical side, like from the downwards. Okay, this is how the animations works. Okay, and this is the continuous step. It's like a chain of animations. So whenever you see some animation, you the first thing you have to do is you have to break down that animations. Like you have to sit and write down what is that animation each animation is doing. If you could see here, I recommend you people to go to the Swiggy and see how actually the animation is working. To be honest, first it will be having this opacity. The opacity from 0 to 1. It goes light to the opacity visible. Then also if you could see the scale of the circle from the scale is nothing but it is first it will be big. It will be big enough, then it will become to their normal size, and the border radius also changes on the same time. And the moment when there is an icon available here, the two text will be slightly animated up from the bottom. It just comes up. Okay, the next step that you see is this icon goes to the next screen, that is a home screen. In the first video that when we learnt about hero animations, I told you the hero animations or hero can be applied only for the shared elements. So this is where we can apply. What is that? After this there's an home screen, right? In that home screen, I can just quickly show you. This is an home screen and we have this icon, and also in the splash screen we have the same icon, which means the same element is shared between the two screens, right? So I can easily use hero animation. Back in the code. So in this code what did I do is we have two screens. So I just created a folder called screens, which has splash screen and a home screen. So avoid this name. Okay, we have two screens. One is a splash screen where I just did an UI, and another one says home screen, which has an icon and the title. And in the main dot, I've just made sure that it has a theme of like what font I wanted, and also the home is being directed to the splash screen widget. Okay, I hope it is clear. If you have any problem in basics or learning Flutter, I recommend you to watch my course that I have uploaded on YouTube. So let's get started. So first thing we have to know is this is the splash screen. We did an UI here. If you could see, I created an column and a positioned because it should lay next to below right here with a certain length. So I just made a little positioning and all. Okay, now let's start with the animation. The main goal of this video is to understand how to do the animation, which is like continuous. Okay, so understanding this is very important. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to make a custom animation. As I told, custom animation is we have fully control, which means we want major 3 elements. The one is animation controller. So what we'll do whenever you want to create an animation controller, we just have to first create a variable. So let's create a variable that is an animation controller and name it as a controller. Okay, and one thing about animation is animation runs, it should run when you load the screen. When the first screen loads, we want the animation to happen, right? If you could observe anywhere, when you first see something or when you opens the app, the animations comes first thing, right? Before anything, the animation appears. So we want our splash screen to execute the animations first. So which is the first function it runs when the widgets get into the tree or the structure is the init function. They have a method called as init, which is the first it will execute inside whatever you write. I mean, inside this method, whatever you write or whatever you do will be the first thing that it execute as soon as this widget is drawn into the screen. Clear? So what we want to do is in this init method, I'll come down. So I've just defined this controller, but I've never initialized it properly. Like I've just defined it, but I've never used it, right? So I'll just write controller and I'll call the animation controller, and which needs a property called vsync. Okay, this is, if you could hover over vsync, which is a ticker provider. It needs a ticker provider, which is nothing but, as I told, animations is like a continuous thing. So there'll be a 60 ticks for 1 second. If the animation have to go for a 1 second, there'll be 60 division or 60 times of ticks. Okay, that usually the vsync will be the widget that you are seeing. We want to rebuild the widgets every time there is a change in the animations, right? So how do we convert this stateful widget into the animation widgets is, I'll just write with and I'll write single ticker provider state mixin. Okay, I'll come back here. So I have to tell the vsync or the ticker provider is nothing but my own stateful widget. How can I say? I can just write splash screen state, or I can just write this. This is used, this keyword is used only when you are referring to your same state or the same parent. Okay, so I can even give one more property, that is duration. I can just say duration should be like a 1 second. So you have to understand one thing about the animation controller. This animation controller is like a timeline. Okay, it goes from zeros to 1. What do I mean by timeline is, as I told, there's a duration of 1 second, right? So what is the gap is from 0, it starts from 0 and it goes to 1, and in between there's a 60 ticks. You're understanding, right? From 0 to 1 there'll be a 60 ticks. That is nothing but 60 times there will be changes, or 60 times there should be a rebuilding. Okay, each time when there's a tick, I mean, if it goes to 0 to 0.1, there should be a change in an animation, or animation will change. Okay, using that value that you are giving. Okay, the first thing what we have to do, first we have to make this scale. What do I mean by scale? First, when I reload this page, I want to create a big circle, and as soon as it reaches to 0 to 1, it should become small. I have to scale this rectangle, right? Before that, the one of the most important thing is we have to do forward, which tells us that animation should execute. Okay, and if I want to prove that it's actually working, so instead of this orange color, or instead of this value, I can just write controller dot value. Okay, I have to rerun it, because as I told, init methods only execute once, that too when see here, even when I reload it, there's no such difference in the animation. I can't see the animation changing. Okay, maybe you're not visible here. I'll show you the better example. Instead of doing alpha, I can do this. There's no change. It is not going from 0 to 1. It is just being in the one state, right? Why it is? Because of this is happening because of the Flutter's how architecture, how it works is, if you don't tell the state, this state or a widget to rebuild whenever there's a change, I'll just change it and I'll show you how it will make sense. I'll just write a controller dot value. See, if I rerun it now, it should become it's like 0 to 1. It should become to fully black, right, as the time goes, but it is not changing. It is because we have to tell this widget to rebuild each time when there is a change. Each time, for each tick when there is a change in the value, we want this widget to rebuild. So how do we do it? Usually in the last video I told, I'll just use controller.add listener, and I'll just set the state, which means nothing but whenever there's a change in a controller, whenever there's a change in a value, we want to change the opacity. We want to rebuild the state. See, now if you could see, there's a change from 0 to 1. Okay, but using this causes a lot of problem. What is the problem that using this will be causing is, see, we want to change or rebuild the widget of only this one, but when we use the controller add listener, which will result in rebuilding the whole screen, which is unnecessary expenses, right? So we'll see in the further videos how can we instead of using controller.add listen, how can we rebuild the single widget. It means if I want to change something here, I just want to rebuild this widget, so which will save us a time and also the resource. So how can I do that? Only rebuilding the single widget will be learned in a few seconds. So I'll just put it back to the same old value. I think it is set state. Okay, will not. Okay, and here it is somewhere 0.15. Okay, so what did we do? We had this controller. So one thing you have to know about controller is like a timeline. Timeline is nothing but it is saying you have a timeline, or you have a duration of 1 second, that is 0 to 1, that has a 60 splits in between, and you can do whatever happens in between. So what we want to happen in 1 second is, we want to scale this to the 0. It have to scale from more than like 3 to this one. So to do that, we'll be using a tween. This tween, if you could if you could recall in the first video that I did, I explained about color tweens, right? How it transaction between the two colors very smoothly. So So today we'll use the tween. So tweens are usually used for value settings. Okay, this controller are like a timer. It's like a duration timeline. Okay, if I quickly explain you how it is controllers are like timelines and tweens here you use it like values. What do you mean by values is, so let's say I want a tween that is usually the type of double. That is nothing but scaling value. Scaling is nothing but you're making this the rectangle what you are seeing, right? The opacity, glass opacity, first you'll make it round in the, if I show you here, so see here, this before coming to this state it is actually a circle, right? Circle with some kind of what do you call, some size it has, it is like bigger than this, it is called scaling. So first it will be scale of big and it becomes to the normal. Okay, so first we'll achieve that. How can we do? Let's create a variable that is a tween, that is a double. Let's give a name like scale opacity. Sorry, not scale opacity, it's a scale animations. So let's name it properly. Okay, so what we have to do, the scale animation is, I'll come right below here. Since I've just named the variable, I have to use that variable also. So I'll use a tween. This tween is have to have this value of double. Okay, tween takes two value. Okay, this little, okay, you have to cover this properly, end this properly. Okay, it takes the two value, one is end and the start. So as I told, tween is just like a value, like if you take color tween, you will give two values, right? Starting value and ending value, begin and end, where from 1 second it goes to smooth transaction between that color to the end color that you have given. Now I have to give a value of scaling. What is value of scaling? First I want this size to be something like 3 to 5. Okay, let's take 5. I want that to be a size of 5. So when the moment the 1 second ends, I want that to be in the small scale like this. So I'll just write, I want to begin this with like 5.0 and I want to end this with the normal 1.0. Clear? I hope you understood this. Okay, and you have to animate this, it's very important. And we won't use normal one, we'll use a curve animation. Okay, when you are using this, I'm sorry to mention this, you're not using a tween double as a data type. Our data type have to be the animation. Okay, that should be double, not tween. Okay, our data type should be animation of double, where we are using tween. That's how we will we can able to animate it properly. Okay, so when I come to this curve animation, you can see there's three things. One is a parent. Parent is like a main one who can control this animation. So who is the one? It's a controller. So we have our control manager who can control the animations. Then we have a curve. Curve is like nothing but what type of curve we want. So here we'll use curves dot ease in out. Okay, make sure you end the statements. Okay, now here we have declared the scale animation, right? So scale animation is nothing but what it does, it goes from the size of 5 to 0. Done. So we have to use this scale to the widget that we have. So where it should be used, it have to be used here, used in this container. If you could see the whole container you are seeing, if I comment this, see that icon will go off, which means we have to handle with this container. So what is the best option? I can wrap the whole widget with the scale. No, we have something called as transform.scale. Okay, this is the better options because it smoothly transform. Why we are using transform instead of animated transmission or something is because See, we don't want to change the layout, we just want it to transform it smoothly. So, and we'll give a scale. The scale will be a scale animation dot value. Okay, if I reload it, there'll be one thing that will go wrong according to me. Okay, it's working fine. Okay, yeah. Now if I remove this control add listener, which we wanted to rebuild each time when we do, and if I rerun it, now it will miss the thing. It will just get stuck. See, it is because this is what I told. It is called as, like, it is not rebuilding. So how do we rebuild this? Like, we'll have this controller. Each time when the controller values change, we are rebuilding it. But using that, will like destroy the whole page. Will be reloading, and it's very expensive. So what we'll do, we'll just wrap the whole widget with a animated builder. So what this animated builder does is, it only animates or rebuild only this component or this widget instead of rebuilding the whole page. It will help to scale down. It helps to get stuck. So basically it is reducing the resources. So what we'll do, which takes the parameters of builder, animation, child and key. So the animation is nothing but a controller. So we want to have the animation of controller. Then the builder, it's like a callback which will return. It should return where this parenthesis, it takes two elements. One is a context and another one is an parameter which we don't want, so let's leave it as a blank. So in return, what we have to return, the scale, transform scale, the property, that is nothing but this widget. So if I reload this, now it works fine. It only reload this particular widget. Done. Okay, the next thing is, what we want, the rounded corner is, right now it is 15, so it is scaling that only, but we wanted that to start with the 0, right? 100, right? It should be perfectly circle, then it should become a rectangle. So I can just play with the value of the rounded borders. So I'll just write late animation, which is nothing but takes a type of double, and rounded corner. I'll come down here and I'll just write rounded corner, which is equals to tween, which takes a double as the data type, which should begin with the 100 of the border should be 100, and it should end with the, how much is the border we have, I think 50, right? 15, I'm sorry, it should be back to 15. Okay, so we have to animate this, and the parent is controller. Okay, you can use the curve animation or a simple normal animation. So now what we'll do, instead of writing it as a 15, I'll just write rounded corner dot value. So if I reload it, it should begin as a circle, then it should end as a small rectangle. Okay, what did we do is, first we made sure that the scale goes from a big to small, and also that the corner radius. Okay, the next thing what we have to focus is, if you see here, both the icon and also the background that you are seeing, it is been scaling, right? It has been scaling from 0 to 1, but we want the icon to be appears right after this the background is appeared. If I go back to the screen, see here, so first this circle will appear. Okay, the moment when the circle comes, then this icon will appear. So the duration between this opacity, if you could see here, there's a plain circle, there's nothing icon. The icon is like faded. The icon opacity is 0. So the moment when this scales down, the icon will appear. The visibility of that icon will come. So next step is we have to do that. So let's go back to code. So back in the code, so what we'll do is, let's create one more variable. So in this variable, animation, we want it to be double only, and we want icon opacity. Okay, double spelling wrong, let's correct it. Yeah, icon opacity. So let's come down here. So icon opacity equals to tween for the smooth transition, and you write double as a type and open the curly parenthesis. It should begin with, so now the question is, if it is opacity, the value will be between 0 to 1. Alright, so we want it to begin with 0.0, and we want to end that to be 1.0. Clear? And we want to animate that in the curved animation, which will have a parent, that is controller, and the curve we want is, let's not have the normal curve here also. Okay, for now let's have a normal curve, because I want to explain you one stuff. Curves dot ease out. Okay, and if you have any doubts regards to how this curve works, go and check the documentation. They have given a clear explanation, like how ease in or ease out curve looks with the the video also. So if I just reload, before reloading, just answer this question. We have written the icon opacity, right? But you have never used this icon opacity. So that's what we're gonna do. So what we'll do, we'll wrap this icon with the something called, we have a widget called an opacity. So this is able to take our opacity, that is nothing but a icon opacity dot value. Okay, now the icon should go from 0 to 1. Yeah, now the icon is going from 0 to 1, but still there is some little problem. What would be problem? If I go to that video and if I show you people, see here. Now if you could see, there's a little circle without the icon. Then the moment circle becomes low, then the icon appears, right? The timing of it, it's like totally changed. The timing is little like different. So now the question is, how do I control this timing? So in that cases, we have to use this controllers. You have to understand how this controllers works. Okay, right now in our code there's a 3 animations. To be honest, one is a controller. It is like a manager who control, and its timeline is 0 to 1, right? So and we have 2 other animation. One is a scale animation, which scales what do you call that icon from a larger to the smaller, and this happens, usually it is like it is going from a 5 to, let's reduce the size. Okay, the value is going from a 5 to, it is going from 5 to 1, right? In the duration of 0 to 1, right? In the complete time, it is going from 5 to 1. On the same hand, where if you see the opacity, icon opacity, it is moving from 0 to 1. Am I right? And it is taking a time from 0 to 1. Okay, when we have a duration, the total timeline is 0 to 1. Using this time, in this 0 to 1, we can do any animations. Okay, and we are doing 2 animations which occupy both the time. But how we want is, we want our icon to appear, or opacity of icon or icon to appear for a little less time. Let's say if this is the middle of the, if this is the middle, let's say this is a 0.5 or something, which have to be like 0.5. It is the middle of the animation. When in the middle of the animation, or let's say in the when it is in the 0.8, I want my icon animations to happen. I want this icon animation, that is nothing but, if there is an animation, I can just show you. I'll reduce the opacity to normal. Yeah, okay, let's delete this. So from between to this, okay, this is a long 1 minute. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. So see, this controller is like a timeline. Okay, you have 1 second of time, like a duration. Okay, in the whole 1 second happens from 0 to 1, we want our scale animation to be executed. I hope you understood. But at the last 2 seconds, I mean, I won't say second, it's like 2 section of 0.8 milliseconds to like 1 second. In that part, we want our icon opacity to appear. We want our icon opacity to appear little late. So what we are doing, we are dividing the whole timeline into the divisions and we are allocating. Okay, let's remove this to avoid the confusion. So basically this is how you allocating. You are dividing time and you are telling, okay, in this time we want the scale animation to done, and at the last few seconds we want our icon animation to be done. Okay, clear? So back in the code, how can we do that? So it can be done easily when you divide the timeline, right? So we have divided the timeline, but we have to allocate what time this, what do you call, the icon opacity to happen. So how do I do that? Using a time interval. Okay, interval. So if I just remove this curve, I will have a property called interval, which will have again a begin and the end positions. Okay, we want this icon opacity to happen at 0.8 intervals and it have to end at correctly at 1.0, that is the maximum duration, right? And we want our curve to curves dot ease out. Clear? So what did we do is, we have delayed the time. We had allocated a separate time for the animation. Now if you could see, first from 0 to 1 second, the scaling thing will happen. Scaling thing is nothing but, it goes from a zoom to zoom out, and then this icon appears. Observe properly. Icon appears at the last 2 seconds. Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to the next thing. The next thing that you have to concentrate is this to text. We want this to text to appear after these two things happened. So if I go back here, if I show you where I was in, see, after the icon, you see the home icon that you are seeing, right? I want the, to text, that is a text of home and your address to appear, which is have to be sliding from the bottom. And in the here also you could see how it is sliding. See, it is sliding from the bottom. So what I'll do, I'll go back to the code. First I'll create two things. In the text, what I want is, first I have to slide the text. So I'll just write late animation, and I want that to be a double, and it should be a text scale. Let's name that as a text scale, not scale, it's text slide. You are sliding the text. Okay, come down here and you write text slide equals to tween, and that should be value of a double, and the begin and the end. So we want to begin the slide with the 15.0. It's nothing but you are giving an y-axis. So you guys understand x and y, right? X is in the horizontal, y is in the vertical. So first this both text have to be in the down, little bit down. It has to just appear up, okay, and it have to end in the normal 1.0. Sorry, it have to normally end at a 0.0. Clear? And we just have to animate it using a curve animation. Parent is a controller, and also remember we have to give intervals for this also, because we don't want to happen this transition of text, right? When there was, if I don't use this, I'll show you what will be the difference. I'll just write curves dot ease out. Okay, now let's wrap the widget. Where is the widget? Let's go down. Okay, here is the text, the whole column, which has a two text, one is an home and one is an address. So what we'll do, we'll just cut this and we'll use an animation builder, which will have an animation that is a controller, and the one more is a builder where it takes two parameters. One is a context. Context says that which widget have to reload or reconstruct. One is a context. Another one we will just ignore it, which we don't need, it's related to animations. Okay, and we'll return the column that is nothing but a text. Make sure it is ended with a semicolon. If I expand that, now the animation builder is enclosed, it is wrapped, because we just want to reload this part. We want this icon to be static, we don't want to reload the whole page, that's why. Okay, we'll wrap the widget with the, we want to slide, right? We have a property called transform.translate, which will give a property called offset, which takes offset, which has a x and y value. For x, we don't want to move any x. X is nothing but horizontally, we don't want to change any position. Vertically, we want to make that to the text slide dot value. Clear? If I reload it, text have to come from the bottom. Okay, see, it have to reload, or it should come from the bottom. But the thing is, it is coming too early. That, see, observe it properly. It is coming in the moment of zooming, like when it is the scaling, right? When it is scaling this animation, this background, it is coming in that way only. If I just go back and explain here, right now we have this, right? We have one more animation. I'll just create one more layout that is called as a text slide. Okay, so this slide also taking the full time from 0 to 1. Let's give a different color, like a blue. And so right now it is like covering the whole it is taking a whole time. Okay, the moment when there's a scaling happening, scaling nothing but the when it is in the circle to the triangle, what scaling is happening, in the same time only the text is also appearing, but we don't want that to happen. We want to happen that in the same time, like 0.8, the same time that we made the icon to appear, we want that to happen here. So that's why what we'll do, we'll just use the interval makes us, or tells us when we want the timing, or we are like basically dividing, or we are telling when we want our animation to execute. We want to execute this animation at the 0.8 thing before it's ending. So when I reload it, first scaling happens, then the home screen comes, then there'll be a slight animations of it is coming from bottom to top, sliding from 15 to 0. Okay, and the one more thing that you have to remember, it is sliding in the proper direction, but first we have to make this the opacity of the text to be 0. We don't want to show to anyone that text is already appeared. So we want to create one more variable that is nothing but a text opacity, which will be same like icon opacity. I'll just copy that, and not icon, it's the text slide, it's the same thing. Just paste, instead of text slide I'll write text opacity, and opacity have to go from 0 to 1, and it should happen at the same second. So yeah, next thing we have to use the text opacity. Right now we have wrapped that with the transform. We also have to wrap that with the opacity widget. So inside that opacity I just have to give the text opacity dot value. So the when I give and when I reload it, it should able to scale first. It will scale, then icon comes, then the image, the text appears. So the first screen splash animation is done. The next we have to concentrate is the splash screen won't be there for too long, right? We have to go from one screen to another. So the moment when the animation is done, we want to go to the next screen. How can I do that? One is, we already know we want the same icon in the next page, we will use the hero animation. Second is, we know how can we usually go from one page to another is, we'll use this navigation dot push, which will help us to go from one page to another, right? So in the same way we have to go from one page to another, but in order to do that we have to know when this animation has stopped. We should know if the animation is still going on. It's like all this detail you have to know to go from one page to another. So for that we have a property under the controller, which is add status listener, which will take a callback, and it will give us a value which will help us to tell when the animation is stopped. So if this status, which is equals to animation status completed, if it is completed, what we want to do, we want to navigate to the next screen, that is nothing but a new, that is home screen. So in the context it's saying that which page or which have to be rebuilt, and we want to do a page rebuild. Just write page route builder. So page route builder will take a page, we'll just make sure it ends with a colon, which has a property page builder. So page builder will have a mainly 3 properties, okay, which is like a context and 2 it's with the animation, which we don't want right now, so let's ignore it, and we want to go to the home screen. Okay, so if you have not watched the custom animation, then you might get confused of using these things because you don't know why we are using, right? So I recommend you people to go and watch that video. So right now what we are doing is we are getting a status from this add status listener. So it is like that, it will be listening to the animation, it will be listening, and it says when this animation is completed. So once the animation is completed, we'll get a status called completed. So when it is completed, we will push that to the next screen. Okay, when I reload it and when it runs, when the animation is done, it goes to the next screen. But how we want to go is very important. Let's go back to the animation and if I run this, see how this animation is going. It is like the home screen, the home icon is going smoothly into the next screen, that is next screen, from the splash screen to the home screen. So we want to go smoothly. What is the shared element here? The home icon, right? So we already learned about hero animation, which we can use it here. So how can we use this hero animation? It's super simple. So first we'll go to the splash screen. In the splash screen we have this icon, you guys remember, right? This icon, yeah. So For now, let's comment this. Okay, for understanding, let's reload it. Let it be in the splash screen. So I'll explain how to use the hero animation. Hero animation is super simple. It takes only one shared element, and the shared element is nothing but this icon. So let's wrap this icon with the hero widget, and hero widget takes a tag which have to be common and it have to be same. Okay, let it be an hero. It have to be same between two pages. So in the splash screen, so I have wrapped this icon with the hero widget, and its tag is hero. Okay, it's just like a name identifier. Okay, and let's remove this, and let's go back to home screen. We'll reload it. I am in the home screen. Home screen has nothing. Okay, it has a little what do you call, the app bar, and app bar I have two things. One is I have already wrapped the whole the icon with the hero widget, and I have given the same tag that I have already given in the splash screen. Okay, I hope you understood this. If you are not able to understand hero animation, I even made an clear tutorial on how to use the hero animation, how it works. So recommended you guys go and check it. Okay, so now if I reload it, both has a hero animation, right? So it have to go in the, see, there's a little transition. Maybe you guys are not able to see it properly, but I can make it visible by just giving one more property here called the transition duration, which have to be a seconds of 1. So which will give us to see how this animation is going in this little smooth direction. Right now the animation that you are seeing is quite linear. Okay, what do you mean by linear is the icon of this home from here to here, it just goes in one straight line. But usually in the Swiggy app, if you could see, there's a little curve of the motion. We can achieve that using a property in the hero widget. If I go to this hero widget in the both screens, okay, first we are in the splash screen. We have something called create react tween. React tween. So basically what it is rect tween. Okay, what is this rect tween? Is nothing but it's like the motion between two rectangle. It is going from one rectangle to the another rectangle, which is usually in the default it will be in the linear way. So to change that, we can use a callback function that takes two property. One is begin and end, which will return a react MaterialRectArcTween. So what will give is, usually by default it will be a rect tween, okay, which is like transition between two rectangle kind. It's like a linear. We want to make it curve, so we'll just use a MaterialRectArcTween which takes two property, which is nothing but end, and we'll assign the begin with begin. So let's copy the same thing, come to the home screen, paste it right below here and reload it. Then you'll see a smooth animations of this home like a curve from one screen to another. See, there's a little curve. Okay, I hope you understood the video. We already completed almost everything that we wanted to do. Okay, thank you for watching this video. So anything related to animation, do follow it.